Hi, I'm Hannah. Hello there, good evening. I'm Hannah Atiase, the host of the Homeowner Show. Today we have two incredible real estate powerhouses that will be joining me in an enlightening conversation on whether you should buy or build as a first-time home buyer. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will delve into this exciting conversation.
More than 80% of global trade is carried by sea. Most of the products we consume daily travel through ports, making them a key link in the global supply chain. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority is committed to ensuring the enhancement, resilience and sustainability of port infrastructure and maritime trade. Get to know which vessel is bringing your goods, how much duty you are required to pay, and how quickly you can clear your goods from the ports of Ghana. We ask the relevant questions and elicit responses from the appropriate authorities. We interact with you via our social media platforms and put your queries across to the expert. Iron Port shows this and every Sunday live on Metro TV at 5:30 p.m. Iron Port is proudly brought to you by and powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Iron Port, transparency in doing business and building a nation.
Love is a feeling, it's hard to define. Mix of emotions. Oh.
Masa, I catch client for here. I dey beg you.
If they won't buy their client, you to go to your father's house. You don't get father.
You know that head is supposed to be on my shoulder instead.
Bro.
Mami.
Ah, yeah, you are yo.
My cousin is coming to stay with us. She's spending some weeks here until school reopens. If you want to be in the good books of Samantha, it's simple. She loves to be gifted.
How much?
400.
400 Ghana.
She loves to be admired.
Pele, stop flirting with me.
She loves sweet words.
Wow, you look good.
If you really mean this business, then you know what to do.
And now, let them begin. From whence cometh that sound? From thy anus, my lord. I smell barbecue.
Small kebab.
Share your link.
Welcome back, and I just want to say happy Valentine's Day to all our viewers from across the globe, and to my special guest, happy Valentine's Day to you as well, and to the entire Homeowner Show crew, happy Valentine's. And you know, this year, give your Valentines the gift of land or the gift of real estate, okay? And if you are looking to buy a property, or you want to rent a property, or you want to build, make sure you contact Ewell's Realty and Consultancy. They offer comprehensive advisory services, consultancy services, marketing, sales, etc. And so they are there to guide you throughout the home ownership journey. So please make sure you reach out to Ewell's Realty and Consultancy, located in East Legon at 5 Park Street. And you can call them at 050-158-0464. And you can also email info@ewellsconsult.com. And if you have any parties that you're planning, or weddings, or christenings, make sure you reach out to Sophie's Food Bank. I mean, they've got you covered from local dishes. I mean, I had their wache the other day, delicious, to other local dishes and continental as well. So for Sophie's Food Bank, please make sure you contact them at 0205-793-951. They cook buffet style and delicious finger foods as well. Make sure you join the Homeowner Show on Metro TV every Saturday at 6 p.m. GMT. We bring you all the exciting and educative conversations from the building and construction industry in Ghana and beyond. To sponsor or partner with the Homeowner Show, please call or text 0243-272753. And please make sure you like, comment, and share the program to others. That's at Metro TV Ghana or Homeowners TV GH. Now, if you have any questions you'd like me to ask our guests, please make sure you send your questions to the WhatsApp number 024-327-2753. I look forward to asking all your questions today. And now, the moment we've been waiting for on this special Valentine's Day, we have my incredible real estate powerhouses, Miss Gertrude Ohineba Soji. She is the member of GRETA. You are welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we have Miss Christina Povey from the African Building Hub. She's a real estate and sustainability specialist. You're welcome.
Thank you, Hannah.
Now, ladies, before we get started in this conversation, I'm sure our viewers want to know a little bit about who you are. So I'll start with you, Ms. Gertrude. Tell us, you are a member of GRETA, which is the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so GRETA was established in 1988, and it's just a group of real estate developers. So members are developers, and then we also have some service providers who are members, you know, people who provide different services. Even the financial institutions are members of GRETA.
Fantastic. And Ms. Christina, Africa Building Hub, tell us about it.
Okay, so Africa Building Hub is a digital solutions company. Basically, we provide real estate consultancy, we provide social media management, and we want to say that we are one of the strongest voices in real estate at the moment.
Fantastic. So, you know, right now or today we're going to be talking about whether individuals should buy or whether they should build. And so there's been this big debate. And I'm going to start with you, Ms. Christina. Right. I would like you to, first of all, tell us where you stand in this debate. And in about 1 minute, tell us why you've taken that stance.
All right. Thank you very much, Hannah, for the opportunity. And my stance is to build. And also, it aligns with what Africa Building Hub also stands for. So we, as Africa Building Hub, started off as a community of people, especially those in the diaspora, who want to build and buy here in Ghana. Now, it was some of the lessons that people learned where people are able to encourage each other on their building journey. Now, back to the question that you asked. Do you think a first-time homeowner should buy a property or build it? I would advise to say that absolutely build it, and here's why. Now, when you decide to build your own home, you have control over these three things. Now, These three things are very important as everyone who's going on their building journey. Now you are able to control your cost structure, you are able to have control over your time, and you also have control over the quality and the type of building materials, inputs from professionals in your whole building journey. And all these three come together to impact your building's long-term value in the long term. So if you'd ask me, I'll say absolutely build. When you do it that way, you have control over this whole process instead of the option where you have to buy it, where you don't get to see some of the drawings, you don't get to see the designs and all that. At the end of the day, you get to budget it, you get to face your construction, and then you build it within real time without you necessarily have to feel pressured to cough up money or anything of that sort. So that's the flexibility that building also gives you. You get to build your own dream home. You get to do whatever that you want to do. So if you'd ask me, totally, one should build their own home.
Awesome. Viewers, I hope you're paying attention. She gave us 3 key points to why she's taken the stance that people should build. She said control. You control the cost of construction. You control your time, right? And then you control
the quality.
The quality. Folks, this is very important. Those are the 3 key things. And then I like what she said at the end is that you control the design. You are able to build. So we're going to make that 4 points. You're able to build your dream home according to your design, right? So, Ms. Gertrude, now you obviously, if she's talking about building, you're talking about buying. If you can tell our viewers, this is a first-time home buyer who's watching you on the show tonight. They are torn between whether they should build or they should buy. What would you tell them?
So I would say they should buy because buying is predictable. You know exactly what you want. You go out there, you shop for it, and so it's predictable. And then it's certain. It's a physical asset. You just walk into a home, and so that is, certainty. And then of course it gives you peace of mind. There are so many challenges, when a person decides to build on their own. And I mean, just look around the city, you see so many uncompleted buildings, and these are all attempts by individuals to build on their own without the knowledge. And so I would say by all means, you should buy a home.
Okay, folks, you should buy a home because she says it's predictable, right? And there's a lot of uncertainty in building your own home. But I want to touch on cost, okay, from both ends. If you are buying a property, isn't the cost higher? And if you are building, can't the cost be higher if you don't know what you're doing, and maybe inventory costs can soar and that sort of thing? So let's touch on the cost aspect. I'll start with you, Ms. Christina. Why do you think that we can control the cost if we don't know what we're controlling in terms of inventory, etc.?
All right, so it's always advisable in your case when you're building that you can control your cost. Now, let's say that I had about, say, 500,000 Ghana cedis to buy a house. And I decide that with that same amount, I would want to build this. If you go on the market today, the amount of money that you would use to buy those building materials as compared to the value of the land will significantly be different. Yes, in that case, cost varies because the pricing that is put in terms of price, in terms of buying a property is different from when you decide to go and build it from scratch. You get to control the amount of wastage on your side as a builder. Because one of the mistakes, one of the challenges that a lot of people go through in terms of building is about costage. It's about how to get the right people who can give them the right number of building materials, who can even advise them on the right designs on how much they can save money. Not everyone would be able to put up a certain edifice in a different place. But if you are best advised by a professional, you should reasonably be able to cut down your costs significantly as compared to if you wanted to buy a property.
Right. So in other words, you should have an experienced project manager on the site that can really control the inventory.
Yes.
So Ms. Gertrude, what are your thoughts on that? Because if I'm going to buy from a developer, they have to include their profit margin. And so will that make it more expensive? And is it value for your money?
Yes. So when you're buying from a developer, you know, they build they build several homes. And so they use economics of scale. So it doesn't mean that once you buy from a developer, automatically he's going to mark up and so the building is going to be too expensive. Or rather, you can also just buy and then you realize that the cost is lower than building. Because for instance, if you had a home that was 500,000 Ghana cedis on the market, and you decide to buy, chances are you may get a nice, beautiful, finished home, ready to move in home, you know, and then you also know the cost. It is there. It's on the building, you know, let's just put it literally, it's on the building. But if you choose to build, you may not know the cost unless you have somebody who will do the bills of quantities. And in Ghana, most often we don't go for the experts because even as Christina is saying, you know, it may cost money. And so most people will cut corners, and by the time they finish building the homes, they have spent so much, or they get stuck along the line. So I would say that it's cost effective to buy. You have so many competitors on the market, and you have ranges. There are people building luxurious homes, but then you also have the affordable homes on the market.
So why do you think we drive by and see a lot of uncompleted homes then?
Yes, so it's because, you know, traditionally we've been told to just buy a piece of land, buy sand, cement, blocks, and start. You know, that's a traditional thing we all carry. And in doing so, most people will start, and because they don't have an idea of how much it's going to cost them, they probably don't even have stable incomes. But just because they had some amount of money, they decided to just venture into building. And then they get stuck on the way. I have had an experience being a first-time homeowner back in my 20s where I attempted building a house. And I ended up having an uncompleted house. And so I think that the best thing to do would be to buy the house, you know, and that would reduce the incidence of uncompleted homes, you know, in our urban cities. In fact, if you look at the population and home census of 2021, it says that there are almost 80,000 uncompleted buildings in urban cities in Ghana. And then you have over 250,000 people living in uncompleted homes, you know, and they are littered all over the city. So I think the best thing would be for us, I mean, for the person who wants to buy a home or build a home or own a home, to just be bold enough, put money together and buy a home.
And so what do you say to that, Christina, to these uncompleted homes out there? Do you think it's about strategy, and in the long term, it is a better investment, a smarter investment to take your time and build? What are your thoughts? Or do you think maybe people need to be educated more on the building process?
Right. Thank you for the question, Hannah. Real estate in itself is a smart investment option. Now, you'd want to think about how to make this a smarter vehicle for you. She mentioned the issue of uncompleted buildings. I would want to say that the uncompleted building is even a great opportunity for someone who is even starting off. Now, in terms of someone who wants to also purchase a building, wants to purchase land and start off, some people wouldn't want to start from scratch. So that's a good opportunity for them to come in and then finish it up. Now let's come to the whole idea of uncompleted buildings, for example. I just want to piggyback on what I was saying earlier. Now, it's mostly an issue of long-term planning. A lot of first-time homeowners don't really plan ahead. And one of the benefits of building is that you get to be able to plan long-term. You get to learn a lot along the way. Now, you get to consult with people who advise you on how to go about it. In terms of your own cost structure, you're able to face it to be able to finish it at some point. So you'd realize that a lot of people don't consult, as she said, they don't go to professionals to get the BOQ down. They don't get contingency buffers in the case where they have to get their construction costs, go south, and then they have to get extra funds to come in. So ideally, if you want to start your project, you will have to budget in terms of your money. You need to be sure that you have regular inflows that are coming in to support your journey.
You know, in terms of planning, because we see it at both ends, first-time home buyers who are trying to build and they have, the cost overrun. You see it with some developers who are trying to build and they're stuck on projects. So any one of you ladies can answer this question. What do you think are some of the common overruns in costs that people experience, and how can we avoid it? What are some of the challenges that cause people to go over budget?
Okay, so, okay, so let me go first.
Right.
So, we have a lot of challenges when it comes to even land acquisition, So people would buy lands and start a project, but halfway through, there is some form of litigation. Okay, maybe they didn't do their due diligence, but there are instances where you can also do due diligence and still have issues, because there could be maybe stool land litigations, and so you are affected because you bought stool land. There could be family land litigations as well. So, in fact, the best thing would be do due diligence and be able to ascertain that the land you are buying is titled. First and foremost, you need a titled land, okay, and then you are able to build. Now, most people would also, like I said, they just have a little amount of money, and so they want to be able to start, and so they don't have a plan, a financial plan in place. So they get stuck along the way. And life is also unpredictable. You never know what will happen tomorrow. Today might be okay, you may be having some good earnings, tomorrow something might happen, and then unfortunately the well dries.
Yeah.
And so somebody may get stuck along the line. So assuming you bought a house, okay, let me flip it this time.
Great.
Assuming you bought a house, now here is the thing. You are going to be able to start earning equity immediately, because you bought a house, you walked in, you've taken possession of the house. You can also even rent the house out. There are Airbnbs these days springing up everywhere. You can use your property, your home, for Airbnb. And so you build equity. So you don't have issues with uncompleted homes, Even if there are any issues, you have the house and you are able to earn money on the house. So I think that, all in all, buying is the best thing to do.
Fantastic, viewers. So take note. Ms. Gertrude said that make sure you do your due diligence. I remember speaking to a well-known developer, and one of the things she said to me, my mentor, is that you should make sure you have a miscellaneous fund. 3% of the total cost should be put in a miscellaneous fund in case there are litigations, in case people pop up and claim that they own the land. So that's a great point to make sure you don't overrun costs. And what would you say as well, Ms. Christina?
All right, so let's start off with design changes. Now, you'd find that some people halfway through the project would decide that I saw this building at East Legon. This building looks fantastic. So halfway through it, okay, architects, let's assemble. This is time for us to change the design. But already, all this have been factored into the costing of your project. So this is one of the things that contributes to the cost overruns in the long term. And as we already mentioned, planning is very critical for your building journey. If you don't plan from the start, it's going to make your journey very difficult for you. It's going to make it complicated. And then you end up not finishing your building project. Now, the second thing is also on the issue of supervision, which is really key, because you find that a lot of people do not have the time to supervise their building project or even get the hired help that they need. Now, if you don't have this in place, you'd always find that you come to your building site and your caretaker or whoever is working, your team, is always underbuying materials. And at the end of the day, you as the builder get to spend so much more, and it throws you off budget. So this is one of the ways that contributes to cost overruns when it comes to building here in Ghana.
Great. So viewers, I love that. Don't always be changing the design in the middle of the project, because that can definitely cost, and then have a good project manager to supervise and oversee it. And also, you said that life happens. And, one of the things is inflation. Yes. Inflation, because today a bag of cement could be 60, 70 cedis, and then in a month it could be 90, 100 cedis. So, I think we have to account for inflation, account for miscellaneous costs as well, just to make sure that, you're not overrunning your costs. Now, typically, how long would it take to build a home? Whether you're a developer is going to build a home or you're building a home, how long should it take so that people can gauge? Because some people take 10 years, 15 years to build their home, but typically, what is the time frame we should be looking at?
Okay, how do we handle that? Do I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. All right, from the standpoint of someone who wants to go for the option of building, now I will try to attempt this from different scenarios. Now, in scenario A, where you have the land registration process, permitting process, and then scenario B, where all this have been taken care of. Now, in scenario A, if you are now starting from scratch, if you don't have the courage, you don't have the patience, you can't go through the registration process because it takes quite a while. You need to be sure that you've done your due diligence, especially when it comes to searches on land. And that is one of the major pitfalls here in Ghana. A lot of people struggle that they will buy land and they get cheated off. They are trying to perfect their title at the Lands Commission. They are trying to get permit to build, and it takes a lot of time. Now, in this case, if you don't have all that, reasonably, it's going to take you a longer time, beyond 24 months and beyond. And also, typically, you find that people who build in Ghana build incrementally. Because today, the average person doesn't have so much to cough to build their own home. So it could take people 20 years to build their dream home. And that's okay, as long as you've been able to get your land, as long as you are able to get your blocks, as long as you're able to get the little things that you can do, you can build incrementally. Now, in the second scenario, where you've been able to get your permits, you've been able to get your land title perfected, averagely, you could build your home between 6 to 12 months if all this is put in place, if you have a regular cash flow coming in. That's where people also need to consider that a lot. Because if you don't have a steady stream of income coming in, it's really going to affect your project process. So if you'd ask me, if those things are not in place, it's going to take you longer. If your permits are in place, your land title is okay, within 6 months to 12 months, you could get it done under a year.
Fantastic. Now, we're talking about whether you should buy or whether you should build. Now, this question is for both of you, and I'll start with you. Even though people are buying, what are some of the costs they should be asking about upfront? Because they are costs outside of purchasing the actual property. So could you list some of the costs that a first-time home buyer, should be inquiring about from the developer?
Thank you for the question. Now, this is an interesting one. So, there are hidden costs, and people overlook that. So, when people go shopping for a home, once they have the price, they think that is it. But that is not it. There's the closing cost, for instance. So, you should be able to transfer ownership from the developer to yourself, and that is cost. You have utilities, the water bills, the water service providers, the electricity service providers. You would have to change all of these into your name. That is cost. And then you have to look at maintenance. There's maintenance cost, home improvement cost, And even in our jurisdiction, we pay tax. We pay property tax. And people overlook that. It's also part of the cost. And so when you are buying, it's not just the cost, the money you cough up front. No. There are several other costs that you need to consider.
Absolutely. And also service charges? that people would have to pay
yes.
as well
Yes.
for maintenance of the communal areas. And I'm sure homeowners insurance as well is something. So these are things now, you notice driving around, there's not a very good maintenance culture. So what would you encourage a homeowner to put aside for maintenance? Is it 1% of the value of the building, or a certain amount they should put aside every month? How should they tackle that to make sure they are upkeeping? Because it's not just buying a property, but it's also growing that asset, because it's an asset.
Yes. So I would think 1% will be on the low side. You could be looking between 2 to 5%, yes. Especially if you want your home to be looking good all the time. There are people who buy homes within 2-3 years. You see the home and you're like, oh wow. Because they buy the home and they forget that they have to maintain the house. And so we have to work on our maintenance culture as a people, and then we have to try as much as possible. You see faded paint, you have to touch up on your paint. Something is broken, you need to fix that, And then of course, if you bought apartments, or you live in an apartment, or you live in a gated community, there are several services that are provided on your behalf. But then of course, you need to have money set aside to pay maintenance servicing, for instance.
Awesome. So, this is when you're buying a home. So when you're building a home, are there any hidden costs we should look out for? Because I don't think service charges may be something you pay if you built the home yourself, but maybe maintenance costs. So what are some of the other costs that a first-time home buyer should jot down as they're planning to build their home?
All right. So we'll start off from the very basics, where you first of all have to purchase your land. That is first. You have to pay for all the requisite fees that comes with even perfecting your title, conducting a search, trying to find out what the root of title is, and all that. Those are separate fees that you pay as an individual. Now, when it comes to even starting the building project, I mean, that has a lot of costs. It's very expensive. And even recently, we had this interesting conversation about purchasing land here in Ghana, and there was something that came up on the issue of digging fees. And digging fees is something that a lot of people didn't know about, and it's one thing that is not spoken of. Where you have these rules where they are informal, but you get to do them. Now, this digging fee, for example, it's one of the hidden costs of purchasing land here in Ghana that people don't really talk about. But when you go underground to start, people will charge you for that. Now, let me just talk about what this digging fee is. It's the amount of money that you pay to people, just people within a particular area where you are buying the land. And this is considered as an appreciation fee for those who have been taken care of. And if you're unable to pay this, you will not have any peace before you start your building project. So these are some of the hidden costs that people have to pay before they start, if they want to use the option of building. Then it comes to the process of starting up your building, the foundation works, even up until you put up your final edifice. So it's quite an expansive list of things that you need to pay.
Yeah, and you see, the good thing about this conversation is that you are getting firsthand all the relevant points that you need to ensure that you don't end up in some of the pitfalls that we see first-time home buyers going through, unfortunately. So, from all the clients that you've met, right, that you've come across in your career, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about building or about buying? And I want you to demystify that myth today. What is the biggest misconception about buying and then about building?
Okay, so I'll go first. Like I said, traditionally, people think that buying is cheaper, but then it is not. The building is cheaper, but then it is not. So when you buy, I believe that, you cut down on cost, and Christina, yes. Christina rightly said that people have this notion that you can you can build a house with just some little amount of money. No, you cannot. The misconception, that is a big misconception in Ghana. And then there are also people who think that you buy a house and you're just giving the money to the developer or whoever built it, And one of the things that we all, in both sectors, people buying and people building, one of the things that we don't take into consideration is just the financial burden. It's not easy to build a house. Yes, that is a fact. And so you need to be financially stable. Whether you are building, whether you are buying, there are some hidden costs, there are some risks, a lot of risks when you want to build. And so you should just be financially stable and prepared for what is to come.
Wow. So when you're buying a home, I love what you said, it's not just simply buying a home, but you're also buying peace of mind, right? Because you don't have to deal with building that home. So what is the greatest misconception? Let's hear that myth from you, Christina.
She made some very interesting points. I'm sorry.
Well, definitely we know you will differ.
Going to come for that. So for developers selling to someone, they sell you a dream. They sell you a location that if you live in here, it's going to be all fun and all that. And that's safe. That is the path of least resistance when you decide to build. And that's one of the misconceptions, that it's safer, it's easier. You don't have to go through the whole stress of buying land, having to go through land guards and all that. But that's just a misconception. Your building journey could easily be done when you have the right information, when you have people guiding you through. And that is one of the advantages that building has. Now, I just want to use this opportunity to talk about what we do at Africa Building Hub. Now, I started off with someone who wanted to start his own building project, and he was able to share some of the pitfalls that he had. And then out of this, we were able to build like a whole community of people who came together. Now, these people are able to share ideas amongst each other. And this is one of the mistakes that people who are building or people who just want to buy property in Ghana don't do. They don't talk amongst each other. If you talk to someone who is in the same position who is also building, the person can be able to share with you what their experiences are, what they did right, what they didn't do right, and then you can learn from it. That is what a prudent builder or investor would do in the first place. So if you'd ask me, deciding to buy, it's good. Some developers are doing the right thing. They're building right, putting in the right materials, but some are taking shortcuts. And if you want to have your building as your investment, you don't want to compromise on that. You don't want to buy a property that will give you future problems. You don't want to spend extra money fixing this, fixing that. No, that's not what you want to do. When you build, you have full control over that. You have control over the design. And also, just to bring in an example, a lot of people have issues with their building. And one of these challenges is the problem of rise and dump. A lot of people don't understand how it happens. Now, for those who do, you realize that from the foundation stages, the damp proofing wasn't done. So after this building is set up, then you have a lot of issues with rise and dump. Then you have to spend extra money. But if you were the one who was building it, you could have corrected this from the very foundation. So it's one of the advantages that you have. So if you'd ask me, total big misconception when it comes to buying property here in Ghana.
Well, folks, you've heard it from Miss Christina. That is the biggest misconception. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'm going to answer questions from our lovely viewers. We'll be right back.
Love is a feeling, it's hard to define. Mix of emotions. Oh.
Masa, I catch client for here. I dey beg you.
If they won't buy their client, you to go to your father's house. You know your father.
You know that head is supposed to be on my shoulder instead.
Bro. Yeah, you are your.
My cousin is coming to stay with us. She's spending some weeks here until school reopens. If you want to be in the good books of Samantha, it's simple. She loves to be gifted.
How much?
400.
400 Ghana.
She loves to be admired.
Pele, stop flirting with me.
She loves sweet words.
Wow. You look good.
If you really mean this business, then you know what to do.
And now, let them begin.
From whence cometh that sound?
From thy anus, my lord.
I smell barbecue.
Smell kebab.
Share your leg.
Welcome back. We're talking about why you should buy or build as a first-time home buyer. So I'm here with Miss Gertrude, who is a member of GRIDA, and with Miss Christina, who is with Africa Building Hub. Now, ladies, if an individual had limited amount of funds, why should they choose your option? Why should they buy or why should they build?
Right. So if you had limited funds, I would advise you to buy. Because who wants to have their funds locked up for 20 years? Christina mentioned that, you could build and you could span a period of 20 years. You want equity. You want your money out as soon as you can get it. So by all means, buy a house. You buy a house, you have the opportunity of walking into your house, you take your keys, you can even rent it out like I said earlier. You definitely have an advantage over one who is building, who's going to have the funds locked up for such a long time. And then when you build equity, you can use the equity to start another business or build another house. So that is the option. I don't know anybody in this day and age, and sorry Christina, who would want to start building, buy land, go through all the risk and start building. Mind you, most people who are going to build have jobs. And so you have to be at a job. Who's going to supervise the job for you, the building for you? Definitely you run into challenges. So buy a house and live the life you want to live.
Great. So, if they had limited funds, let's use an example, right? A practical example. Affordable housing. Let's say it's about 500,000 Ghana cedis. And this person only has 300,000 Ghana cedis. How do they buy that 500,000 CD home?
Okay, so assuming that this person has a stable job and then has some amount of money, there are financial institutions that will give you mortgage, and then developers, developers in Ghana are open to mortgages. So you need to approach any of these financial institutions. In fact, let me advise that first-time home buyers or owners should make it a point to attend housing fairs, because that is where you can gather a lot of the information. You meet the financial institutions, you meet the developers who have ready homes. And so once you get a financial institution, they do your background check and everything, and you qualify for a loan, they're definitely going to give you that loan. And you can just get a ready home, even though you had 300 Ghana and the home is 500. You could also, this is also another thing I tell young people I meet, you can also join hands with business. You can have a business partner, join hands with family. You can buy a home with a brother or a sister, with a friend. At some point you have to trust. People have trust issues in our country, unfortunately. But at some point you have to trust somebody. There must be one or two people you trust. And so you can come together, pool your resources together, and then buy them.
Fantastic. So you can get a mortgage, or you can use group economics, come together and buy together. And you mentioned trust issues, so maybe have a legal document with an exit strategy. You know, I bought my first property when I was a young person at 23 with my brother. So we came together because we did not have the financial strength by ourselves, you know, at that age. So I think that's great. So Ms. Christina, I have 300,000 Ghana cedis. I want to build a home that costs about 500,000. How would I go about in making sure I could build that home?
All right, so I just want to address something that Getchu said before I come to your question.
Sure, sure.
Of course, there are a lot of people in Ghana today who want to build. With some of the work that we do at Africa Building Hub, we have a lot of data that we are sitting on, a lot of data we've been working with. Now, our analytics shows us that people who watch us, watch content relating to real estate, are usually within the ages of 35 to 70. And this is an age in which a lot of people who are serious about buying or either building a house fall under. Now, let's come to what Hannah was asking. If you have 300,000 Ghana cedis and you want to build, there are always smarter ways that you can build your home. Now, one, as I mentioned earlier, you can always approach someone who has a parcel of land and already has an existing property on it. A lot of people would want to dispose of an asset like that. You can take it up from there. Now, if you have such a limited budget and you want to build, of course, you won't be going to prime areas like cantonments, Laboni, where land is expensive. Of course, you move into the up-and-coming areas. The Spintex that we have today used to be a bush area some time ago. It wasn't a prime area, but today, look at the land values within Spintex. Look at the land values at Laboni. Look at the land values at some areas in even East Legon. How expensive it is now. So, of course, if you have a limited budget, you have 300,000 cedis. You can get a parcel of land for about 70,000 cedis and then put up a building. Of course, if you move outside of the outskirts of Accra, you could get areas where you could buy land for 70,000 Ghana cedis. We have success stories at Africa Building Hub. We have a community where people share their stories. And someone was able to put up a building at Adeso, which is outside of Accra, built it for 200,000 Ghana cedis. Yes, and these are some of the success stories that we celebrate in our community. If you come in there, people show you, you can go through this route, don't do this, don't buy this. Even people to the extent are able to advise each other on estimates that laborers, masons, other artisans give them. If someone comes, I want to start my roofing, I got this estimate from this particular roofing company. Do you think that this is reasonable? Do you think that I can work with this? You have a lot of expertise on the page that people can advise you. So yes, absolutely, you can build with 300,000 if you have limited funds.
Wow, I hope you're taking notes, viewers. I like something that Ms. Christina said that a lot of people don't really touch on, and that's that you can buy land with an existing structure, and all you have to do is sort of remodel, yes, finish, complete that structure. That's fantastic. And then, you know, your first home does not have to be your dream home. Let's be very clear about that. You know, you should build where you can afford. It doesn't have to be in cantonments. You could build in the outskirts. And you have success stories at 200,000 Ghana cedis. This is fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to go to the viewers right now. We have some comments. This program is very interesting. It's like a classroom. I'm learning a lot. My name is George Sapon, watching you from Tafia, Burkina. Thank you for tuning in today, George. Make sure you are sharing the YouTube channel with friends. Happy Valentine's Day, Madame Host, and your fantastic and beautiful guests. This is Kofi Boatin in Koforidia Old Estate. Hello, happy Valentine's Day to you as well. Okay, someone has a comment. Please, I'm settled in my mind that building or buying, you need money, money, money. Mm-hmm. Even to eat, we need money. Everything is money, yes. My name is Dylan in Abri. Dylan, good to hear from you. Hello, Homeowner Show. Happy Valentine's Day to you all. Madame, this debate is interesting. Oh boy. And I'm debating with my husband here because he started building and he has not finished. But I asked him to go for a mortgage. My debate is interesting. Ladies, what is your comment? Please settle the debate in this home. What would you say on this Valentine's Day debate?
Well, I would say, the lady's position was the best. He asked him to go for a mortgage, so I think that is the way forward if he's stuck. And like I said, life is not predictable, and so maybe something happened, and that is why her husband is unable to finish the house. But anyway, congratulations to them for at least trying.
At least trying. Now he's building. He has taken your stance, Miss Christina. So what would you encourage him to do at this point, because we want him to complete the home?
All right. So his wife is suggesting that he goes for a mortgage, but maybe they could have a discussion about the state of their finances, how much money they are able to pull in together as a couple. Is it one-sided, or both of them are pulling in funds together? Because one of the advantages of building incrementally is that every single day that you build, the prices of building materials go up. They have never really come down. But just to bring a little emphasis to that, we realized that from mid of 2025, we realized that there has been a reduction in the prices of building materials, especially for cement and for iron rods, because of the appreciation of the cedi against the dollar. So yes, that is an absolute opportunity for people who are building around that time. So the prices get to go down. It means that you can get opportunity to buy more building materials. Now in this case, maybe they just need to really understand what their cash flow is and what other sources of revenue they could be considering to bringing it in. Now maybe my advice to her would be that she could have a little more patience with him. Building incrementally, it will take time, but eventually you would get like this amount of money to support the building process. So yeah.
There you have it. Miss Christina says, be patient. Be a little patient with your husband. It will take time. And make sure you analyze your cash flows very well, so you're making the right allocations towards completing this build. And then Ms. Gertrude says you could take out a mortgage. In fact, they are financing institutions that will give you what we call a shell mortgage. So they actually will come in and complete it if you are at 90%. So that's something to think about as well. All right, so I'm watching this show in my office at the ministries. Please, don't you think prefabricated house is the best option? Nanayao Koranting, thank you so much for tuning in. What do you think? He says prefabricated homes should be the better option for builds.
Yes, it is. It's just that Ghanaians like, the cement blocks. That is what we are used to. But there are developers who have prefabricated homes. They brought these technologies here, and they are doing well. I know on the Spintex Road there used to be one, and yes, he sold all the units. I mean, they run out that fast.
Wow.
Yes. And then when you look outside of our jurisdiction, I mean, there are countries that have prefabricated. I've gone to certain countries where I have seen a whole house is on a truck, and I'm like, what's going on here? In Ghana, the only house you will see on a truck will be probably a container house, But then we have to be able to move towards, prefabricated homes, because that would be less expensive, and so if you're thinking of cost, that could solve some of the cost issues.
All right, so it can actually work out, prefabricated homes as well. This is Sylvia in Tema. Hello, Sylvia, how are you? Madam, please let your producers bring the banks to tell us about mortgage payments. Okay, we will do that. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I really appreciate having my guests on tonight. I want you in 30 seconds to please speak to the viewer. Why should they buy and why should they build? And we'll wrap it up for tonight. 30 seconds.
So viewers, you should definitely buy a home, because it gives you the opportunity to just take your keys, walk into a house, you definitely have the opportunity to see the house, you like it, and you can make equity out of it. You can earn money out of it. It is tangible, the house is there. You don't need to wait 10 to 20 years, lock up your funds, your hard-earned funds for 20 years, assuming you are even 40. By 20 years, you are 60. You are now owning the house. You are now moving into the house. Definitely buy a house, and get to move into the house, get to experience the house, get to live the life you want to live. Let me take this opportunity to also give a shout out to Holy Child School Cape Coast. They are celebrating their 80th anniversary on the 5th of March, especially to the 1984 year group, Facta Non Verba. And that is Latin, Hannah. It means action, not words. And
Action.
So go buy a home.
Yes, action, not words. Go buy a home. And shout out to Holy Child. Yes, Miss Christina, 30 seconds.
All right, so if anyone is watching and wants to make a decision about building, I would advocate strongly for you to build. Now, when you decide to build, you have control over every single part of your building process. Now, your home is your investment, and it's something that you don't want to compromise on. So you want to be in charge of every single part of it. So yes, a lot of people would say that it's an easier route to buy a property. That's fine. But if you want to buy, absolutely get someone who can inspect the building for you. Make sure you've had someone to properly advise you. Now, if you also want to build, be sure to do a lot of planning before you start. Because here in Ghana, building is not for the faint-hearted. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you once again to both my guests for being here, for spending your Valentine's Day with us, educating on the Homeowner Show. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You have all the information you need to make an informed decision on whether you should buy or build as a homeowner. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next Saturday at 6 p.m.